All Night Long, a romantic comedy from 1981, directed by Jean-Claude Tramont and starring the illustrious Barbra Streisand alongside Gene Hackman, initially met with both commercial and critical disfavor. In spite of its initial reception, the film has gradually emerged as a minor cult classic. This shift in perception is largely attributable to Streisand's compelling performance and the film's distinctive comedic elements. In All Night Long, Gene Hackman portrays George Dupler, a middle-aged man navigating a midlife crisis precipitated by his demotion to the graveyard shift as manager of an all-night drugstore. Amidst the backdrop of eccentric late-night patrons and a deteriorating family dynamic, Dupler embarks on an ill-advised affair with Cheryl Gibbons, portrayed by Streisand. Cheryl is the spouse of his son's acquaintance, leading to further complications in Dupler's already tumultuous life. The film's production was not without its hurdles. Initially, the role of George Dupler was slated for Richard Dreyfuss, who had to withdraw following an injury. This led to the casting of Hackman, known predominantly for his dramatic roles, which in turn imbued the film with a distinctive flair. Similarly, Streisand's involvement was a departure from her usual glamorous characters, replacing actress Lisa Eichhorn, who exited the project after disagreements over a particular scene. Despite its novel concept, All Night Long struggled to resonate with its audience and critics alike upon release, largely due to its peculiar tone. However, as years have passed, the film has been re-evaluated for its unique approach to the genre of romantic comedy, allowing some viewers to celebrate its idiosyncratic narrative and performances. Upon its release on March 6, 1981, All Night Long suffered at the box office, garnering a mere $4 million against a budget of $14 million. The film currently holds a 33% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.5 out of 10 from users on IMDb. For those interested in exploring this distinctive piece of cinematic history, All Night Long is available for streaming at no cost on the Tubi app. The Devil and Max Devlin, a 1981 fantasy comedy film, was produced by Walt Disney Productions and is distinguished by its notably darker themes, atypical for Disney films of the era. Directed by Stephen Hilliard Stern, the film features Elliot Gould in the role of Max Devlin, a harsh landlord from Los Angeles who meets his untimely demise in a traffic accident and subsequently descends into the underworld. In this ominous realm, Max encounters a devil named Barney Satin, portrayed by Bill Cosby, who proposes a sinister deal to avoid eternal damnation. Max is tasked with returning to Earth to convince 3 innocents to forfeit their souls. Upon his return, Max attempts to influence the lives of 3 diverse individuals: Stella, an aspiring singer played by Julie Budd, Nerve Nordlinger, an enthusiastic motocross racer, and Toby, a young, impressionable boy. Initially driven by his dark bargain, Max finds himself unexpectedly growing concerned for their futures, leading to a profound internal struggle regarding his malevolent objectives. While the film incorporates comedic elements, it predominantly embraces a darker tone. This shift, coupled with its supernatural plotline, delineates a significant departure from Disney's traditional family-oriented offerings. The Devil and Max Devlin elicited mixed reactions from critics and audiences at the time of its release, primarily due to the stark contrast between its thematic elements and the customary Disney narrative. Interestingly, today, the casting of Bill Cosby as the Devil invokes a sense of irony, given his subsequent criminal convictions and imprisonment for sexual assault. Released on March 6, 1981, The Devil and Max Devlin achieved a box office gross of $16 million against a budget of $1 million. Despite its financial success, the film has not been fondly remembered in critical circles. It currently holds a 17% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a score of 5 out of 10 on IMDb. For those interested, The Devil and Max Devlin is available for streaming rental on various platforms, including Google Play. Maniac, 1980, stands as a seminal work in the slasher film genre, directed by William Lustig and co-written by Joe Spinell and C.A. Rosenberg. Starring Joe Spinell in the role of Frank Zito, the film delves into the disturbed psyche of a man who, haunted by memories of his abusive mother, engages in the stalking and murder of women in New York City. Spinell's riveting performance as Zito greatly contributes to the film's impact, marking it as a memorable exploration of psychological trauma and brutality. Plot summary. Frank Zito, a loner residing in a dilapidated New York apartment, is tormented by his past traumas inflicted by his abusive mother. These experiences have driven him to murder women, whom he sees as stand-ins for his mother. Following their murders, he scalps his victims and adorns mannequins with their hair, engaging in chilling, one-sided dialogues with these figures. These interactions unveil the severe depth of his mental derangement. The narrative progresses as Frank becomes infatuated with a photographer named Anna, portrayed by Caroline Munro. This relationship coincides with a further decline in his mental stability and an escalation in his homicidal impulses. Special effects. The film is distinguished by its exceptional makeup and special effects, masterfully orchestrated by Tom Savini. Among the most notable sequences is a cameo by Savini himself, where his character is gruesomely dispatched by Frank with a shotgun blast to the head, a scene achieved through the use of a dummy paired with an actual shotgun, resulting in one of the film's most jarring moments. Reception upon its release, Maniac was met with significant criticism for its explicit violence, leading to its ban in several countries. Despite early criticisms, it has garnered a cult following over the years, particularly among aficionados of the slasher genre who value its raw depiction of horror and Spinell's compelling performance. It is now recognized as a crucial element of the early 1980s exploitation and slasher film movement. Maniac was remade in 2012 starring Elijah Wood. That film was also well received by fans, if not by critics, much like the original. Maniac premiered on March 6, 1981, earning $2.5 million at the box office against a modest budget of $350,000. Presently, it holds a 40% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a user rating of 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. The film is available for streaming on the Tubi app. On the Right Track, a film from 1981 directed by Lee Phillips, stars the youthful Gary Coleman, a popular figure at the time due to his performance in the sitcom Different Strokes. This American comedy film is particularly oriented towards family audiences, offering both comedic and heartwarming elements. Plot summary. In an engaging performance, Gary Coleman portrays Lester, a homeless youth who possesses a distinctive knack for predicting winning horses at the racetrack. Despite his humble abode in a locker at a Chicago train station, Lester's remarkable talent elevates him to local fame. His notoriety brings him into contact with a variety of adults, some with noble intentions and others with exploitative motives. Throughout the film, Lester is swept into numerous plots aimed at securing him a more stable existence. The narrative adeptly intertwines moments of humor with touching scenes, delving into themes of kindness, community, and the quest for belonging. Cast: Gary Coleman as Lester, Lisa Eilbacher as Jill Klein, a compassionate social worker, Michael Lembeck as Frank Biscardi, the love interest of Jill, Maureen Stapleton as Mary Clayton, another influential figure in Lester's life reception upon its release. On the Right Track received a spectrum of reviews. Critics praised Coleman's engaging charm and comedic prowess, but were less favourable towards the film's predictable storyline and sentimentality. Despite these critiques, the film successfully highlighted Coleman's abilities and maintained a strong appeal among his younger fan base. Legacy. Though it was neither a critical darling nor a blockbuster hit, On the Right Track occupies a beloved place in the hearts of Gary Coleman enthusiasts and aficionados of 1980s family comedies. It represents a period when Coleman was at the zenith of his career. The film premiered on March 6, 1981, and garnered $13 million at the box office against a budget of $3 million. Presently, On the Right Track does not have a rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but holds a score of 5.4 out of 10 on IMDb. The film is not available on streaming rental services, but can be accessed through a fan upload on YouTube. The link is provided in the description. Back Roads is a 1981 American romantic comedy drama film directed by the esteemed Martin Ritt, featuring performances by Sally Field and Tommy Lee Jones. The film is distinguished by its seamless integration of humor, romance, and drama, beautifully encapsulating the unusual road trip dynamics between two distinctly incompatible characters. Plot summary. The narrative chronicles the lives of Amy Post, portrayed by Sally Field, a spirited, street-smart prostitute, and Elmore Pratt, depicted by Tommy Lee Jones, a former boxer burdened by a destitute existence. Their paths cross under unconventional circumstances, prompting them to collaborate in an escape from their troubled lives. Together, they set forth on a cross-country journey from Alabama to California, fueled by hopes of a fresh beginning and aspirations for a better future. Throughout their travels, Amy and Elmore encounter various challenges, comedic misadventures, and engage in moments of significant personal development. Their collective experiences foster an improbable alliance, and despite their initial disparities, they cultivate a profound bond. Reception upon its release, Back Roads garnered mixed reviews from critics. The performances of Sally Field and Tommy Lee Jones were lauded for their dynamic chemistry and the depth they brought to their roles. However, some critiques highlighted a perceived lack of coherence in the script and an over-reliance on cliches. Nonetheless, the film has gradually been recognized for its enduring charm and the genuine moments it portrays. Fun fact: at the time of filming, both Sally Field and Tommy Lee Jones were at critical junctures in their acting careers. Field had recently been awarded an Academy Award for her role in Norma Ray, 1979, and Jones was in the process of establishing himself as a prominent leading actor in Hollywood. Back Roads debuted on March 13, 1981, achieving a box office total of just over $11 million against a production budget of $7 million. The film currently holds a 42% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and a rating of 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Back Roads is available for streaming on Amazon Prime. The Funhouse, a 1981 American slasher horror film, was directed by the esteemed Tobe Hooper, who is celebrated for his groundbreaking works such as The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974, and Poltergeist, 1982. This film merges the raw, atmospheric essence of Hooper's earlier projects with a surreal and nightmarish vision, crafting a unique contribution to the slasher genre. Plot summary. The narrative revolves around a cadre of teenagers who decide to extend their evening by spending the night inside the confines of a travelling carnival's funhouse. This group includes Amy, portrayed by Elizabeth Berridge, her boyfriend Buzz, Cooper Huckabee, alongside their companions Richie Miles Chapin and Liz Largo Woodruff. Initially, their adventure begins with thrill-seeking intentions. However, the situation swiftly deteriorates into horror as they witness a murder and find themselves being pursued by the carnival employees, most notably a grotesquely deformed individual named Gunther Wayne Dober. The funhouse setting, replete with eerie rides and distorted mirrors, significantly contributes to a claustrophobic and disquieting atmosphere. Reception. While The Funhouse did not achieve the groundbreaking status of some of Hooper's other films, it was nonetheless acclaimed for its evocative tension, haunting settings, and inventive approach to the slasher motif. The film's methodical build-up of suspense was particularly praised, though some critiques pointed to an uneven pacing. Over time, the Funhouse has cultivated a cult following, revered by aficionados of 1980s horror for its nostalgic portrayal of carnival horrors and Hooper's distinctive directorial flair. Legacy. This film further cemented Tobe Hooper's reputation as a visionary capable of melding striking visual storytelling with profound thematic undertones. It remains a distinguished and psychologically intense entry in the slasher genre, noted for its macabre carnival aesthetics. Released on March 13, 1981, the Funhouse garnered $7.8 million against a budget of $2 million. The film currently holds a 67% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a rating of 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb. The Funhouse is available for streaming on Amazon Prime. Modern Romance, 1981, is a sophisticated comedy film painstakingly crafted by the esteemed writer and director Albert Brooks, who also portrays the leading character. The film meticulously dissects the intricacies of relationships, the accompanying insecurities, and the neurotic behaviors typical of romantic engagements, all articulated through Brooks' exemplary wit and insightful observational humor. Plot summary. The narrative centers on Robert Cole, portrayed by Albert Brooks, a meticulous film editor entangled in a tumultuous relationship with his girlfriend, Mary Harvard, played by Catherine Harold. The film opens with Robert terminating his relationship with Mary under the pretense of bettering his life and attaining happiness. Yet, he soon finds himself engulfed by jealousy and regret, haunted by the prospect of Mary with another suitor. As Robert endeavors to move forward, his actions oscillate between humorous and discomforting, featuring awkward social interactions, misguided self-help efforts, and extravagant displays of affection. Despite his attempts to stabilize his emotions, Robert and Mary's relationship continues in a complex and repetitive cycle. Critical reception upon release, Modern Romance garnered accolades for its sharp script and the compelling performance of Brooks, although it did not achieve significant commercial success. Today, it is celebrated as a cult classic, renowned for its acute comedic insights and its authentic depiction of flawed romantic relationships. The film caught the attention of Stanley Kubrick, who praised it for its truthful portrayal of romantic insecurity. Legacy. The film's subtle humor and Brooks' portrayal of a neurotic character have left a lasting impact on subsequent romantic comedies. Its examination of self-destructive behaviors and emotional distress continues to resonate, marking Modern Romance as a definitive example of Albert Brooks' distinctive comedic approach. Released on March 13, 1981, Modern Romance faced challenges at the box office, earning $2.8 million against a budget of $4.5 million. Nevertheless, it maintains a strong critical standing, with an 83% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a score of 7 out of 10 on IMDb. Modern Romance is readily available for streaming, free of charge for Amazon Prime subscribers. Hey, movie buffs! Let's take a fun dive into the good old 80s with the comedy flick Cheaper to Keep Her, directed by the legendary Ken Anakin. This gem stars the charismatic Mac Davis and the talented Tova Feldscher, mixing up some romantic laughs with a cheeky look at relationship dynamics and the changing gender roles of the times. So, what's it all about? Mac Davis plays Bill Decker, a slick private investigator who's a pro at catching cheating spouses. Plot twist, he ends up in divorce court himself when his wife calls it quits. Part of his divorce agreement? He's got to join a divorce therapy group. Talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Here he meets a bunch of interesting folks, each with their own quirks. At the center of it all is Bill's growing thing with Dr. Ann Badowski, the group's therapist played by Tova Feldscher. They hit it off, but boy, do they see love differently. What's under the hood? The film isn't just about laughs, it's got some meat to it, exploring the rough seas of divorce and how men and women were starting to see each other differently back in the 80s. What did people think? Critics were on the fence. They loved Mac Davis's charm and comedic chops, but weren't all in on the script, calling it a bit cliché. Yet, fans of easygoing comedies that make you think a bit really dug it. Mac Davis fans, take note, this was one of his first big acting gigs, transitioning from his country singer-songwriter persona. And it's a cool flashback to 1980s comedy and the era's relationship issues. Released on March 13th, 1981, Cheaper to Keep Her made a modest $2.5 million at the box office. Despite having no score on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a decent 4.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Catch it how? It's a tough find, but worth it for a nostalgic movie night. Cheaper to Keep Her is currently only available on DVD. No streaming yet, folks. Grab a copy and enjoy a blast from the past. Rediscover the hidden gem, Disney's Amy, 1981. Directed by Vincent McEvity, Amy stars Jenny Agutter as Amy Medford, a woman who embarks on an emotional journey after a personal tragedy. This poignant family drama explores themes of loss, resilience, and the transformative power of compassion. Plot overview. Set in the 1910s, Amy leaves her affluent life and estranged husband following their child's death. She finds new purpose at a school for deaf and blind children, despite lacking prior educational experience. Through innovative methods, Amy connects with her students, helping them gain confidence and independence, ultimately becoming a community inspiration. Starring Jenny Agutter as Amy Medford, Barry Newman as Dr. Ben Corcoran, Kathleen Nolan as Helen Gibbs, Chris Robinson as Elliot Medford. Themes and impact. Amy highlights the importance of inclusion and tailored education for children with disabilities, emphasizing empowerment and second chances. The film is noted for its sensitive approach and has been praised for pioneering portrayals of disability in media. Production highlights. Directed by seasoned Disney filmmaker Vincent McEvity and featuring a nostalgic score by Robert F. Brunner, the film was shot in picturesque locations that evoke the era's rural charm. Legacy. While not a box office hit, Amy stands out for its heartfelt portrayal and educational impact. It continues to inspire new audiences through Disney's streaming platforms, celebrating the progress in special education and the enduring power of empathetic storytelling. Amy was released on March 20th, 1981. Oddly, there is no information regarding the box office performance or budget for Amy. Amy also has no score on Rotten Tomatoes, but it does have a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Amy is available to stream on Disney+. Cutter's Way, a neo-noir masterpiece released in 1981, Cutter's Way is a neo-noir thriller directed by Ivan Passer, adapted from Newton Thornburg's novel Cutter and Bone. The film skillfully blends mystery and drama, providing a stark look at disillusionment in post-Vietnam America. Plot overview. The story centers around three main characters: Alex Cutter, John Hurd, a bitter disabled Vietnam veteran known for his cynicism and loyalty; Richard Bone, Jeff Bridges, a morally ambiguous drifter who stumbles into a murder mystery; Mo Cutter, Lisa Eichhorn, Alex's wife caught in a struggling marriage. The narrative ignites when Richard Bone witnesses a man disposing of a body. When a young woman's body is later found, Bone suspects the man is J.J. Cord, a local tycoon. Alex Cutter, driven by a desire for justice and revenge, pushes Bone to confront Cord, leading them into danger and moral complexity. Themes. The film critiques American moral decay, highlighted by post-war cynicism and mistrust of authority. It delves into friendship, loyalty, and the high personal costs of seeking justice against corruption. A little-known fact about Cutter's Way is that it nearly was never released. The film was released in New York under the name Cutter and Bone, but a review by critic Vincent Canby, tearing the film apart, caused United Artists to pull the film from release. After a name change, the film was seen by other critics who praised the film and gave it a second life. Reception and legacy. Initially a box office disappointment, Cutter's Way has since garnered critical acclaim and a cult following. The film is celebrated for its sharp dialogue, atmospheric direction by Ivan Passer, and standout performances, particularly from John Hurd, technical aspects, direction and tone. Passer's naturalistic approach emphasizes character psychology over the murder plot. Cinematography. Jordan Cronenweth's work enhances the neo-noir aesthetic, using light and shadow to reflect the story's moral ambiguities. Sound and music. The sparse score by Jack Nitscher complements the film's somber mood, with emphasis on realistic sounds to heighten the gritty atmosphere. Performances. The actors deliver nuanced performances that drive the narrative and deepen the film's exploration of complex themes. Conclusion, released on March 20th, 1981, and earning $1.7 million against a $3 million budget, Cutter's Way remains a critical success, boasting a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.8 on IMDb. The film is available for streaming on the Pluto TV app, continuing to resonate as a poignant reflection of its era's social and political challenges. Omen 3, The Final Conflict, a 1981 supernatural horror film, is the third installment in the Omen series. Directed by Graham Baker, it stars Sam Neill as Damien Thorn, the Antichrist, now a powerful adult heading Thorn Industries and rising to global dominance. Plot summary. Now in his 30s and the US ambassador to Great Britain, Damien is set on triggering the apocalypse. A subplot follows monks with the 7 daggers of Megiddo, led by Father De Carlo, Rossano Brazzi, aiming to stop Damien as he learns of a prophecy about the second coming of Christ, leading him to target newborn males in England. Themes and style. The film delves into the rise of evil underpinned by religious prophecy and apocalyptic tension, combining supernatural horror with political drama. It shifts focus from the mysterious identity of Damien to his direct confrontations against his divine adversaries. Reception. Upon release, the film received mixed reviews. Sam Neill's portrayal of Damien was highlighted for its blend of charm and menace, though the film was criticized for lacking suspense and relying heavily on dialogue. It grossed $20 million against a $5 million budget. Legacy. The series progressed with Omen 4, The Awakening in 1991, but shifted focus to a new Antichrist. Neill's performance remains a franchise highlight, marking the final conflict as a crucial part of this iconic horror saga. Availability: Omen 3. The Final Conflict is available to stream on Hulu. Dive into the gripping neo-noir world of The Postman Always Rings Twice, a 1981 remake directed by the accomplished Bob Rafelson. This cinematic rendition brings to life James M. Cain's 1934 novel, weaving a story of lust, betrayal, and murder set during the 1930s, Depression-era California. In the film, Jack Nicholson stars as Frank Chambers, a drifter who lands a job at a diner owned by Nick Papadakis, played by John Colicos, and his alluring younger wife Cora, portrayed by Jessica Lange. An intense affair between Frank and Cora spirals into a dark plot to murder Nick, aiming to start a new life together. Yet their actions trigger suspicion and mistrust, leading to a tragic unraveling of their plans. The film features standout performances by Nicholson and Lang, whose chemistry intensifies the thrilling narrative. Directed by Rafelson and captured through the lens of cinematographer Sven Nykvist, the film achieves a stark, atmospheric visual style. The screenplay by David Mamet adds a modern sharpness to the classic noir tale. Critically, the film received mixed to positive reviews, noted especially for the compelling lead performances and its provocative love scenes. Although it didn't eclipse its 1946 predecessor in acclaim, it stands today as a fascinating exploration of moral decay. Released on March 20th, 1981, the film grossed approximately $12.7 million. The Postman Always Rings Twice holds a 79% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Catch this thrilling classic for free on the Tubi app today and experience a masterful blend of passion and suspense. Hey movie buffs, let's talk about a hidden gem from the vaults of comedy. We're talking about Dirty Tricks, that crazy 1981 flick mixing up political hijinks and slapstick laughs. Directed by Alvin Rakoff, starring the charismatic Elliot Gould and the fabulous Kate Jackson. This one's a wild ride through the world of academia meets espionage, all based on a play by Michael Pertwee. Here's the scoop. Elliot Gould is this college professor who, totally clueless, lands smack in the middle of an international spy game. All he had to do was deliver a mysterious package. Easy, right? Nope. This simple task spirals into a full-blown political drama. Kate Jackson, who plays his wife, jumps right into the mess with him. As they dodge one ridiculous situation after another, get ready for a roller coaster of deception, identity mix-ups, and some seriously funny undercover antics. Now, heads up. When it first hit the screens on March 20th, 1981, not everyone was digging it. The critics had a few thumbs down, saying the humour missed a beat here and there. It's kind of a love it or hate it thing, but if old school comedy's your jam, this one's a must-watch. Can't find it on Netflix or Hulu? No stress. Someone's dropped it on YouTube, so you can catch Dirty Tricks there. Just check the link in the description. So, if you're in for some laughs and a dash of espionage, give Dirty Tricks a go. Might just be the quirky comedy you're looking for. Inseminoid is a British science fiction horror film that graced the screens in 1981 under the direction of Norman J. Warren, with a screenplay penned by Nick and Gloria Maley. Despite its modest budget, the film ambitiously blends elements of science fiction and graphic horror, drawing parallels to renowned films such as Alien due to its thematic and setting similarities. However, Inseminoid ventures further into exploitation territory. Plot summary. Set on a remote extraterrestrial planet, the narrative unfolds around a group of archaeologists and scientists exploring ancient ruins. The plot takes a dark turn when Sandy, portrayed by Judy Geeson, encounters an alien entity that impregnates her in a harrowing and invasive event. As the alien pregnancy advances, Sandy undergoes a horrifying transformation, becoming violently psychotic and instigating turmoil and destruction amongst the crew. The film captures the intense struggle of the team as they endeavour to survive, facing not only Sandy's gruesome metamorphosis, but also the overarching menace of the alien presence. Key themes: body horror. Inseminoid delves into the chilling terrain of body horror, examining themes such as alien impregnation and the loss of bodily autonomy. Survival. The film's tension is predominantly driven by the crew's desperate efforts to survive amid the dual threats of Sandy and the alien. Isolation. The isolation of the planetary outpost enhances the psychological horror, underscoring the crew's vulnerability in the face of unknown terrors. Reception upon its release, Inseminoid was met with predominantly negative critiques, with reviewers pointing out deficits in acting, special effects, and an overall derivative nature. Nonetheless, the film has accrued a cult following over the years, particularly among enthusiasts of campy, schlocky science fiction horror. Notable features, practical effects. In spite of budgetary limitations, the film effectively employs practical effects to craft its alien creatures and gruesome gore scenes. Exploitation elements. Inseminoid does not shy away from graphic and provocative content, including its depiction of violence and alien impregnation, which contribute to its notoriety. Legacy. While Inseminoid may not have achieved widespread acclaim, it remains a noteworthy exemplar of 1980s science fiction horror cinema. It is particularly recognized for its bold attempts to explore boundary-pushing themes within the confines of its budget. Admirers of niche horror or exploitation films might consider it a compelling watch. Inseminoid premiered on March 23, 1981, and was produced on a budget of $1 million. Unfortunately, historical records of the film's box office earnings remain elusive. Currently, Inseminoid holds no score on Rotten Tomatoes and has received a modest rating of 4 out of 10 on IMDb. For those interested, Inseminoid is available for streaming at no cost on the Tubi app. Eyes of a Stranger, 1981, an intense slasher thriller film directed by Ken Wiederhorn and produced by Herb Fried. Eyes of a Stranger is a gripping blend of suspense, horror, and psychological drama. It emerged as a distinctive contender during the early 1980s slasher film wave. Plot overview. The film centers on Jane Harris, Lauren Tuies, a Miami news anchor who grows suspicious of her neighbor, Stanley Herbert, John DeSanti, due to his unsettling behavior. Convinced he's linked to a series of violent crimes in the city, Jane's investigation deepens. The stakes are heightened by her younger sister, Tracy, Jennifer Jason Leigh, whose disabilities make her vulnerable. As Jane edges closer to the truth, she places both their lives at risk. Key features: on-end thighs, tension and suspense. Influenced by Hitchcock, particularly themes from Rear Window, the film masterfully crafts a narrative filled with voyeuristic tension and suspense. Graphic violence. True to its genre, it features graphic scenes enhanced by psychological terror. Jennifer Jason Leigh's performance. One of Leigh's earliest roles, her portrayal in the film is both compelling and evocative, marking a significant point in her career. Special effects by Tom Savini. The film boasts high-caliber practical effects by the legendary Tom Savini, enhancing its appeal among horror enthusiasts. Reception. While it wasn't a blockbuster upon release, Eyes of a Stranger has since cultivated a cult following. Critics have praised its fusion of classic slasher elements with a suspenseful narrative. Leigh's performance and Savini's special effects are frequently lauded as highlights. Trivia. The film underwent edits to sidestep an X rating due to its intense thematic content. Eyes of a Stranger offers a compelling mix of mystery and horror, making it a standout film for fans of the genre. Eyes of a Stranger was released March 27, 1981. The film earned $1.1 million on an $800,000 budget. Eyes of a Stranger holds a 43% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. Eyes of a Stranger is available to stream for subscribers of Apple TV. The 1981 cinematic release Thief, directed by Michael Mann, serves as a distinguished example of the neo-noir crime drama genre. This film, marking Mann's inaugural foray into feature filmmaking, features James Caan, who delivers one of his most acclaimed performances. Thief is a meticulously crafted examination of professionalism, loyalty, and the pursuit of freedom within the confines of the criminal underworld. Plot summary. In the film, James Caan portrays Frank, an adept jewel thief with an expertise in high-end safe cracking. Frank adheres to a rigorous set of principles, maintaining a firm separation between his personal life and his criminal activities. Having spent considerable time in incarceration, he aspires to abandon his criminal pursuits in favor of creating a family and leading a conventional life. However, Frank finds himself coerced into forming an alliance with Leo, played by Robert Prosky, a formidable mob boss who offers him a substantial financial incentive. This partnership, though lucrative, forces Frank into executing a perilous heist under Leo's surveillance, ensnaring him further into a web of manipulation that jeopardizes both his freedom and his personal aspirations. Style and influence. Directed by Michael Mann and underscored by Tangerine Dream's evocative electronic music, the film offers a visually and aurally stylized experience. Mann's rigorous attention to detail, including the depiction of legitimate safe-cracking techniques, enhances the authenticity of the film. Thief not only established Mann's definitive visual style, but also set the stage for his future career in crafting atmospheric, character-centered narratives. Reception. Upon its release, Thief was met with critical acclaim, particularly for James Caan's intense embodiment of Frank and Mann's sophisticated directional approach. Although it did not achieve significant commercial success initially, the film has cultivated a dedicated cult following and is celebrated as a pivotal work within the crime genre, influencing subsequent heist films and Michael Mann's later projects such as Heat, 1995. Legacy. Thief demonstrated Michael Mann's burgeoning talent as a filmmaker and remains a landmark in James Caan's acting career. The film laid the foundational elements for the atmospheric, character-driven crime dramas for which Mann would later gain fame. Released on March 27, 1981, Thief garnered a gross of $11.4 million against a budget of $5.5 million. While it currently lacks a Rotten Tomatoes score, it holds a rating of 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Thief is available for streaming to subscribers of MGM+.